Elliott Summey has been the executive director of the Charleston International Airport since July. I talked one-on-one with him for this special edition of Quintin's Close-Ups. And if you haven't already, subscribe to my YouTube channel and like Quintin's Close-Ups on Facebook. Elliott Summey, welcome back to the award-winning Quintin's Close-Ups.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me, man. And it is the award-winning. You do a great job for us in the community. I mean, it is. I was telling somebody the other day, it is really amazing how much of a service you provide for our community. We don't get to, when you do other news programs or whatever, a lot of times it's a minute, 30-second clip here or whatever, and it's hard to get true context of what you're trying to do out there. And the fact that you provide this forum for the community is we're blessed to have you, buddy.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm happy to do it. Yes, indeed. Let me jump right into it because obviously there was some good news at the airport yesterday. The Charleston International Airport officially opened its new parking facility Thursday at a ceremony ribbon cutting. And obviously you said this quote, "Today's ceremony is a milestone for both Charleston International Airport and our entire community. It's a pleasure to celebrate our airport's opening of this beautiful new garage as we navigate our pandemic recovery. This facility is part of our forward-thinking strategy that provides for today's customer needs and anticipates tomorrow's growth." What exactly is that forward-thinking strategy now?
So to go forward, you got to know where you've been. Henry Darby taught me that. I know he was a mentor and teacher of yours. He was mine too. He's my 7th grade history teacher at Morningside. And he used to always say, to deal with history is you can't know where you're going until you know where you've been. And so before COVID, we would have 4 or 5 days a week that we would just run out of parking here at the Aviation Authority. And that became an issue for us. I mean, the exponential growth that we'd had year over year here, but pre-COVID was unexpected. And so they started planning for the garage. But in the process of that, now that, while we were building the garage and the COVID situation happened, we were able to kind of say, how do we want to strategically place this, make this more of a place and give it a sense of place than just a piece of infrastructure. And so that's what I would think, if you go see it, and I encourage people to do that, and I'm going to give you another opportunity here in a minute. I don't know if you've seen it, why you should go to our new deck here. And even if you're not flying out, you should visit us because it is first of all, it's the largest parking deck in South Carolina, but it's also the floors are very tall. A lot of parking decks, you're almost claustrophobic. Yeah. This one is not that way. It's very tall. It brings in a lot of light, natural light, so it feels very safe, right? Because parking decks sometimes they don't feel very safe. They kind of can be dank and dark and scary. It's because of all the natural light, it gets a lot of natural air in there as well, so it doesn't feel wet like a lot of parking garages do. It's a ton of technology built in the facility. So you'll know when you're driving up the ramps, you'll know what floors have open spaces because we've put in a camera system in all the spaces. So let's say you're driving up and there's a space open up on level 3. Well, you pull on level 3, you're not searching all over for it because at the entrance of each aisle, there'll be a green light and a red light. If there's a green light, that means that aisle has a open parking space. And when you turn down that aisle, when you look down, every car that is in the space will have a red light, except for that one empty one, which will be green. There's no guessing on where you're going. Going to an airport to fly out can be stressful. A lot of times you're in a hurry. It never fails. No matter how well you plan, you're in a hurry. You got baggage. You don't want to forget your phone. Now you don't want to forget your mask.
Right.
You got all these things. If you have kids with you, I mean, it can be stressful. So we wanted to take the stress out of at least that portion of it and say, hey, I don't have to figure out where to park. All I got to do is follow the green lights. You follow the green lights, it's going to put you to the closest spot available. And so, that's really cool. And so we just want to make sure that when the vaccine gets moving around and people start getting ready to go really flying on a real robust level, that we're able to make it as stress-free and as convenient as possible for our traveling public.
And let me just go over to last week. Obviously, the Charleston International Airport was evacuated on Wednesday afternoon after a suspicious package was discovered, according to local reports, and this came from Fox News. A bomb squad was dispatched to South Carolina Airport after TSA identified the package at 11:15 a.m., deeming it to be potentially a threat in the check baggage screening, according to the Post and Courier. When exactly did you hear about this?
So it was Veterans Day, so our office was closed. So as soon as TSA figured it out, they have a call out list, and there was about 4 of us that got called when they said, "Hey, when TSA says it's time to evacuate the airport, we don't hesitate." Again, you got to remember this. We're regulated by pretty much every alphabetical acronym that there is: TSA, FAA, FBI, all that. You name it, Homeland, HSI, Homeland Security, the whole thing. So TSA says, okay, we got a problem. You guys need to evacuate the airport. We just, yes, sir. And so I found out when the call came at 11:15, we all came in as quickly as possible. And I think it went pretty well. I think what people need to take from that deal Wednesday is we're real serious about security and safety, and there was a suspicious package that was very suspicious. It turned out not to be an explosive device, but it was very suspicious, and how it got checked was suspicious. So there's multiple. TSA looks at multiple criteria when they're scanning checked luggage, and they look for objects, shapes of objects. They look for the smells of objects, so for organics. They also look at whether or not who has control of that piece of luggage. In other words, did the person who owns the bag actually have control of that luggage the whole time? And in this case, the answer was no. So there were a ton of red flags that went off. Quintin, it's the old saying: if it looks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it's probably a duck. Well, fortunately for us, this thing looked like a duck, it quacked like a duck, it walked like a duck, it even smelt like a duck. It just didn't go boom like a duck, and which is a good thing. Right. But I think that the major thing that people need to know is that TSA, all of our federal partners that work with us here at the airport are extremely serious about safety and health. We're especially now with all the COVID stuff, we are extremely because we have less folks, we're able to really check everything very meticulously. Sure. And we want everyone to be safe, and we want everyone to be healthy. And we're doing everything we can to make this the safest and healthiest airport in the country. I mean, we really want it to strive to be that way. We want to be the best. And I know it was a little inconvenient, but at the end of the day, a little inconvenience for in the name of safety and security and health, I think it is worth it.
What was the shape of that object?
Unfortunately, TSA puts us under rules where we can't really go into what it was. I will tell you, it looked like the real thing.
And unfortunately,
I can't go deeper into that because of the privacy of the person.
Sure. And what is the typical criteria for checking an actual luggage?
So this bag was a check bag. It wasn't one that was a carry-on. So every one of them goes through a series of screening. So at the airport, underneath the airport, when a bag gets loaded on the conveyor belt, it goes through a typical X-ray machine. Yeah. That X-ray machine and that the tech that's working that X-ray machine looks at it and it will go, it's either good or hey, what's that? And then it gets sent to a different machine. It's almost like a MRI machine.
Right.
And so then that tech has it and goes, okay, it's nothing, or, ooh, that doesn't look good. So then it goes into a third piece of equipment which actually smells for organic material, and all explosive devices have organic material. And in this case, this thing had organic material in it, but it just wasn't of an explosive type.
Okay. And let me ask you,
there's no real way for the thing, it's like there's no real way for that machine to know the difference between the organic material. It just knows it's organic. So And then when TSA went back and looked at the video,
Right.
the person who loaded it on there was not the person who belonged to the bag. And so that threw off a huge red flag. It turns out the person was just being kind,
Right.
and to that other person, because the other person, I can't go into details.
Sure. Right.
The person was being kind, and it's just one of those things that by the time we sorted all that out in TSA, had already evacuated the airport. So.
Wow. And now the machine didn't recognize that, I guess, that organic object. Who physically recognized that it was an organic object?
So the Charleston County Bomb Squad, once this thing is like, okay,
Yeah.
this thing has the potential of being something bad, TSA loads the bag into a self-containment unit. It's a bomb-proof unit that it goes into that contains the package, and then the Charleston County Bomb Squad comes out, and they go, they do their thing and disarm it in order for it not to explode. So, but that takes a little time. I mean, it takes the bomb squad 30, 45 minutes to get here.
Wow.
They have to set up a perimeter,
Right.
in case something were to go wrong. I mean, and so that takes a little bit of time to do those sort of things.
Now, how long did it take for North Charleston Police Department to arrive to the airport?
Oh, they were right on the spot. I mean, they were there quickly. I mean, of course, the airport's in the middle of North Charleston.
Right.
So the good news is, because of how we do dispatching in Charleston County with consolidated dispatch and the mutual aid agreements that the Aviation Authority has with all of the local jurisdictions, City of North Charleston was out there helping us with traffic,
Yes.
and security. The Charleston County Sheriff's Office was handling bomb stuff. They brought their dogs. SLED was here with their dogs. Berkeley County, Dorchester County, even the City of Charleston came up to lend a helping hand. We have our own police department here at the Aviation Authority. It's a 35-person unit, so we're a small little department. But we do a really good job with the limited amount of resources we have. But we can't afford to have our own bomb teams and all that sort of thing. So we have to rely on the sheriff's office for a lot of that stuff, and our other brothers and sisters in government around us, and we're very appreciative of them. They're always here to help us, and we're very appreciative of that.
And how soon was the airport department notified of this?
Of the police department?
I mean, of the actual potential suspicious package.
Immediately.
Okay.
Immediately. So TSA, we have a hand-in-hand relationship with TSA. So TSA is in control of the secured area of the airport. But as soon as it started sending off red flags, we have a text notification system amongst the key stakeholders, and the computer starts generating the warnings to us so we can be prepared for what the next steps are. Now,
how many people were actually evacuated on that particular day from the airport?
It's hard to say number wise, but luckily it was a Wednesday. It was Veterans Day, and Wednesday's our worst day of the week. So we have a few passengers. The day we have the least amount of people in the airport is a Wednesday. So we normally only have, because of COVID, we only have about 1,800 people all day long that come to the airport. So it was a couple hundred folks probably, including employees. Right. TSA's got 80 people work here all the time, the airline employees, but we were off. Our 192 people were off because of the Veterans Day holiday. So it really was only, my guess is it was probably maybe 150 passengers total.
Yes, sir. And this might be a silly question right now, but is it cheaper to fly out of Charleston on the Wednesdays?
Actually, it is. Please book a Wednesday. We're losing money on Wednesdays.
Oh, okay. I'll keep that in mind when I need to fly.
That's right.
And I know all flights at that time were suspended or diverted for security purposes, according to the flight checkers, while law enforcement investigated. How many flights were there that were actually suspended, or how many were actually diverted?
I think we only had like 2 or 3 diverted, okay. And the FAA makes that call. As soon as TSA says, "Hey, we got an issue," the FAA is in control of the tower. They start moving flights around. no one, here's the good news. No one who was leaving out of Charleston or who was missed their flight. That's the good news. And so, I think it's important that, and people were very courteous. I went out there. They went to the parking garage. That's where, it was the safest place for everybody to be. And I walked over there. We're talking to folks, and, we have bathroom facilities over there, and it kept, they were out of the rain. So, in the weather, on Veterans Day was a beautiful 70-something degrees. So, the good news, it wasn't July, it wasn't, 100 degrees outside. And so everybody was out of the inclement weather, and it was a beautiful, temperature outside. So the people were very courteous and thankful. And they, a lot of people said, man, we really appreciate y'all. And thank you for keeping us safe. And, we get security is a big deal. I don't think, even though 9/11 was 20 years ago, I don't think, especially folks our age, I think that 9/11 is not lost on us. You got to remember, TSA was born out of the 9/11 situation. I personally, I had a friend of mine that was in the second flight into the tower. It was flight 173, and so I think it's not. I think that incident is still out there in the conscience of Americans when we fly. And I think that folks know that we take this stuff very seriously, because it's the one time you don't take it serious that something bad happens. And God forbid, we never want anything like that to happen again.
And I know TSA really controls the security at the airport along with your police department. Do you think there will be any type of relearning about how to screen, these packets in the future?
Oh, so certainly, the good news is it went very well, but nothing is ever perfect. And so every time you have an incident, you use that I don't see obstacles, I see opportunities. And so every time we have a situation like this, we should take from it what we did well and what we didn't do well, and learn from those experiences and make it even better. And so that's what we're doing. We've already met with TSA, their head of security for South Carolina, David McMahon, and our law enforcement partners, around South Carolina, and said, okay, how can we do, this is what happened. So how do we do and make this better? Certainly, for ourselves and for our traveling public. So we want it to be, again, we want to have the safest airport in the country and the healthiest one. And in order to do that, we continually strive to be better. The day that we quit learning or we quit trying to be better is the day we should just quit, because no matter what you do, I believe that you can do things better than you did it before.
Now, last question on this. Is this investigation still ongoing from what happened last week?
No, it's been resolved, and TSA's enclosed it, and we're now in the post incident situation where we're taking what happened and we're digesting it and using it for training purposes, ongoing for our folks.
And what else will be included in that training?
Certainly, we'll have there'll be a multitude of things that come out of it. Certainly, we're looking at a new piece of equipment as well. Remember, the equipment that we've got down there was done when the terminal finished 4 years ago. There's a couple new pieces of technology out there that are even more sophisticated. Right now, we're losing a couple $1 million a month at the airport, so it's hard to buy stuff. But we're talking to the FAA about helping us with CARES Act money for a couple pieces of new equipment that are several hundreds of thousands of dollars. But at the same time, if it's even more sophisticated and reduces the amount of times that we have to do an incident like this, it's well worth the money. So we're looking at that. We're also looking at how we work together with the different law enforcement agencies and making sure our communication is pristine. So, Quintin, this kind of stuff comes from my background at the county, dealing with hurricanes, floods,
right,
manual non-shooting, those sort of things. And, I've had a lot of trial by fire when it comes to emergency situations. And so that's one of the things I'm bringing to the airport and our folks is that okay, this isn't my first rodeo, and we are lucky and blessed that we've got some of the best first responders in the country right at our doorsteps. Our EMS, fire, and police folks, I'd put them up against anybody in the country. They've been through it over and over and over again, and they know best practices, and they really keep our folks safe. So we're going to be working with Jason Patno and the guys over at Emergency Ops in the county,
Right.
to help us from an outsider look in to how we do things in our workflows when it comes to emergencies, and give us some expertise on some of that.
Now, how will the communication flow next time?
Certainly, it went pretty well, but I think that from a media standpoint, the way that we handled, the media, and it just was one of those perfect storms where it was raining. TSA shut off vehicular traffic to the airport, so they were stuck out there. The folks that were trying to drive into the airport ended up parking down Miss Show Parkway.
Right.
Certainly, we're already talking to Boeing about having an MOU with them on their outer parking lot, since it's not full right now. That if we have one of these instances, we can communicate to the officers to stage those cars at Boeing. So there's no one trying to walk down the road. There's nobody, in traffic. Just to try to make it just a little bit safer and better and convenient for folks.
And let me go back to what you said earlier. You said this, obviously, about the new garage. You said this facility is part of a forward-thinking strategy that provides for today's customer needs and anticipates tomorrow's growth. What are the customer needs today at the airport?
I'm glad you asked. So today we've announced a partnership with the Medical University of South Carolina, because one of the things we need more coronavirus testing. We know that this garage is not going to be open or full to its capacity. So we are going to take the fourth floor of the garage in a partnership with MUSC and provide free COVID testing for not only the traveling public, our employees, our airline employees, but to the community as well. Without an appointment, you can drive to the airport, go to the fourth floor of our parking deck, and get a COVID virus test. Obviously, for the airport, it's a big deal. There's states now that are going to start allowing folks to travel as long as they're armed with a negative COVID test within the last 3 days. MUSC can turn these tests around within 24 hours. So if you plan on flying out to New York or California or Denver or one of the wonderful places we go, you can come by without an appointment, drive up, get a COVID test. They will email you the results within 24 hours, and you can actually show up in New York City or Denver, Colorado, or Los Angeles, California, with your COVID test in your hand and say, you know what, I'm COVID free. I just had this test done. And that will help folks or travel people flying into Charleston. When they land here, they can go get a COVID test. So when they go check into one of our beautiful hotels downtown or go eat at one of our fine restaurants, folks in our F&B and our hospitality folks can be assured that the folks that are flying in here are COVID free.
Right.
That's a big deal, I think, for everyone in the hospitality industry, for sure. Because I know, those folks are on the front lines of trying to make a living, but also trying to keep themselves healthy. And so we're going to provide that free testing. Also, all of our employees, all of our airline partners, Joint Base Charleston, right, Boeing Company, all those employees will now have the ability to come over, whether it's on their lunch break or whenever, get this COVID test. And that way we know that we're keeping a very healthy environment around us. But the other cool thing is that we're opening it up to the public around us. So if you live anywhere within driving distance of the Charleston International Airport, you can drive in and get a COVID test. If you're symptomatic, they'll actually let you have the saliva test, which is a rapid test. Right. You'll know I think it's within 20 minutes, whether or not you're positive or not. So MUSC, you can't say enough about those folks. Dr. Cawley, Dr. Cole.
Yes.
They're so great. And they've been doing so much to try to keep us healthy here. And for them to partner with us is a blessing. We're just honored to be able to have a facility. Again, that fourth floor will be out of the rain. It'll be out of the elements. You can drive right in. They'll validate your parking, so you don't have to pay to park. You don't have to pay for your test. And the more testing we do in this community, the better off we will be and the faster we'll be on the road to recovery. We know we want to keep all of our loved ones safe, Quintin. We don't want to get them exposed to COVID. Personally, my youngest son was born with a respiratory birth defect.
Right.
The idea that I would ever come home, maybe even being asymptomatic, and bring that to him would just break my heart, because he would struggle in a real way. I personally know 2 or 3 folks who've died from COVID, and whatever we can do to continue testing while the government's working on getting this vaccine out is just vitally important for the health and safety of the greater Charleston area. And we're just want to be part of the community here at the Aviation Authority, helping make it safe.
And with this particular partnership, have you seen this successfully at any other airports around the country?
Sure. So I can't take credit for it on my own. LaGuardia Airport started doing it. When Governor Cuomo decided that they were going to reduce the 14-day restriction down to a 3-day restriction with a negative COVID test when you came into New York, LaGuardia partnered with one of its hospitals. I happened to see that come across the computer and went, hey, maybe we can do that. And so literally text Dr. Cawley and said, hey, look at this article. Tell me what you think. He said, come on down. Let's talk about it. Within 30 minutes, Dr. Cawley and his team had it figured out with Hernan Pena and our team, how to do it logistically, how to pay for it, the whole 9 yards. And then they're like, let's go. So Monday morning, we're starting. I mean, it's the Monday before Thanksgiving. So, and Thanksgiving week is normally a bigger week for us here in Charleston. You know that. You're in the industry. And so, we want to protect everyone. We want the economy to get back going, but we got to protect folks. We got to protect our food and bev folks. We got to protect our hospitality folks. We got to protect those people who make Charleston the place everyone wants to be. At the same time, we have to protect our citizens. And this is the way to do it.
Let's go to Thanksgiving week. How are you prepared right now logistically?
We're looking good. We're ready to go. We've got a lot of PPP here. We require masks in the airport. We're not finding folks if they don't have it. Our police officers walk around with masks in their pockets, and we've got customer service people who walk the airport with masks. Again, people forget things when they travel. You forget a phone charger, whatever. Right. We've had several people. Personally, a lady was walking through the front door of the airport the other day as I was walking out, and she went, "Oh my God, I'm going to be late for my plane. I forgot my mask." I went, "Oh, no, don't go back to your car. Hold on." Literally within 15 feet, was able to hand her a mask and say, "Go to your plane."
Yes.
It's about making life easy for folks, but we're ready to go. We're excited. We want folks back in when we're about 40% of what we used to be. We miss the folks. We really do, and our employees miss them. We love our traveling public. It's one of the reasons why we're one of the top 10 airports in the country. So we like to make the experience as seamless as possible for folks.
And let me get ahead to a couple other questions. I know that with the car rentals moving into the garage, are you still planning another terminal near the empty lot by chance?
Certainly, we're in the planning phases of that, and we're going to have to see what happens post-COVID. Pre-COVID, it was a no-brainer. We were ready to go.
Wow.
But the good news is we were having to react to the growth. The silver lining with COVID is we've been able to take a look at the last couple of years of how we've done things, why we do things, and analyze that and say, okay, how do we want to move forward? So we're in the process of doing that now, analyzing those things. But certainly, we feel like if we start to return back to the numbers we had pre-COVID, we'll definitely need a Concourse C.
How do you analyze tomorrow's growth with smart growth?
There used to be a way to do it pre-COVID. The COVID thing's just changed everything. And so right now, it's really a best guess. It's hard not knowing how will the public, what will be the long-term psychological takeaways from COVID-19. We don't know that yet. There are some folks that may never travel again on an airplane. I will argue that flying on an airplane right now might be one of the safest things you can do. The airport's cleaner than it's ever been. The planes are cleaner than they've ever been. Delta still doesn't have middle seats. You have to wear a mask on a plane. the way the airplanes are constructed, with the way they exchange air every 90 seconds while you're in flight, is extremely safe. The HIPAA filters they use are the same type ones they use in surgical centers at hospitals. So I would argue but that's inside baseball. I know that because of where I work.
Right.
The general public, not sure how many people really will understand that. And so, it's hard to say, Quintin. It's really what will be the psychological takeaway from this? I mean, if you look at 9/11 again, that was the last time that air travel in the United States was really shut down for any period of time. And it took a long time, I think, in my opinion, for the American people some folks to get comfortable getting on an airplane again. And so it's hard to say.
Hard to say, yes, sir. And let me go back to obviously earlier this year when you were chosen, obviously, to be a part of the airport. And this is what the Post and Courier said, quote, "By the time Summey unpacked pictures of his wife and his children in his new office in July, his controversial selection was the distant memory, replaced by the upheaval wrought by the coronavirus pandemic and the subsequent racial unrest sparked by the death of George Floyd at the hands of a Minneapolis police officer." Let me ask you this, Elliott. What is the biggest difference between July and right now when you think of your job at the airport?
So in July when I got here, if you remember, again, we go back to COVID, we were still learning about the virus. We're still kind of reacting to it. Now we're planning the recovery side, and so which is what I'm very excited about. I think as Americans, this country has a history of adversity, but it's how we react to the adversity. It's how we recover from it that makes us different than any other group of people in the world, right? And so I think that I'm proud to be a small part of what the recovery process is going to look like in our community and in our country. That's what my job looks like now, is how do we recover? One of the things that I'm having to do is, there's a misconception about our Aviation Authority that our budget's based on taxes. Well, it's not. We don't actually collect any taxes here at the airport. We are a fee-based airport. So whatever passenger count comes through, whatever revenues we create at the airport is what we live our budget on. And so we don't get county taxes, city taxes, state taxes. We don't get any of that. So when I say, we lost $2 million, or the month of April, we lost $3 million here because there was nobody in this airport. We lost $3 million. Mm. We've been able to do that, but still maintain our workforce, not furlough anyone, not cut anyone's salaries, not lay people off.
Okay.
We've been able to do more with less. And we've got some really good folks here that love being at this airport, and everyone's passionate about the recovery. And I've been looking at different ways to diversify our revenue streams. We've got a lot of land. We've got 2 other airports, by the way. It's not just CHS. We've got Johns Island Executive Airport in Johns Island. We've got LRO out in Mount Pleasant.
Yeah.
And JZI, it's the eyes of the world are going to be on JZI in May. Right. We got the 2021 PGA Championship at Kiowa. There's going to be a lot of folks flying in privately, a lot of CEOs, a lot of golfers. We're working with PGA of America. We're going to be the epicenter for all of their receiving, for all their packages, for all their logistics setup.
Right.
We're working hand in hand with them. We're working with Secret Service. We're working with all of our local law enforcement partners. We're going to be an integral part of that. And so, and that's going to be some revenue for the Aviation Authority. We're looking at our land here. We've never really been in the economic development game at the Aviation Authority, except for with Boeing. And we're looking at how do we make the most of our real estate and create jobs for the community, good, high-paying, high-skilled jobs, especially in the aeronautics sector. There's a couple of nicer projects that we're working on here. And, so my job is to try to keep this airport healthy, is to keep it safe, but also to help plan out and implement the recovery and watch for the fiscal health of this authority as well.
You talk about the Secret Service. Who exactly are coming?
Well, we all know that the president loves Kiowa.
Okay.
He comes 4 times a year. So we expect, there's a possibility with the vaccine that the PGA Championship will be the first attended in-person major sporting event since COVID. So all the tickets are already sold out. They expect 100,000 people to come here to Charleston.
Wow.
The president loves golf and he loves Kiowa. Right. So we're expecting a visit from President Biden. Nothing confirmed for sure, but we're planning on that. I think if it's the first event, the president's going to want to be there, and certainly, and especially in a place he loves. Normally, right. When he was vice president, he'd come 4 times a year to Kiowa. Right. Him and Dr. Jill, and so we're just going to we're ready. We don't want to react. We want to be proactive. So, sure. So we're going to be ready for all of it if it comes.
And let me ask you 2 more questions. I know you have to run, but obviously you said that you laid out a 5-point business recovery and continuity plan targeting health safety measures to tackle the coronavirus, and vowing to look for new revenue sources, as you just mentioned. What revenue sources fit into your business recovery plan?
So again, we're looking at diversification of our revenue, whether it's land, services we can provide. Again, the things we can do at JZI. We're building new hangars out at LRO. Okay. That will help provide for some revenue for our private folks and our aviation enthusiasts that like to fly, out there at Mount Pleasant Regional. And we're doing the same thing at Johns Island. We just finished a lighting program, new navigation lighting program out at Johns Island Airport, which is going to help for night flights to Johns Island. We've actually seen an uptick in private aircraft at all of our FBOs. We have 2 FBOs here at CHS as well. And so, a lot of folks who have the wherewithal to fly private are doing it because they just, for whatever reason, it's been more difficult to fly commercially. So we're looking at all those opportunities, and we're going to make the most of them.
Now, how many businesses inside the airport that actually had to close due to COVID?
Well, in March, they were all closed, but they're slowly opening back up. Burger King has been open for a while. Caviar and Bananas, though, open this week. Yes, everybody's happy about that. Hudson's been able to get some more open. We've been able to get the brew pub opened, Sam Adams, and so things are looking up. And Hudson, they open with the traffic. They've been very good to work with. They see, they watch the flight data like we do. They know when the surge is going to be, so they'll open for a couple of hours and then shut back down and then shift over to a different concourse in order to help save with labor costs and those sort of things. So, and heck, I went through there the other day, and literally the lady who runs all the operations for Hudson, for Charleston, who everywhere she was running a register herself. And wow. So it was cool to see, everybody's chipping in, doing different things, because it's just, we want the passenger experience to still be good, but still at the same time, watch our, count our pennies.
And the Postal Courier said this too: as for the 10 airlines that is serving the Charleston International Airport, their rates and their fees were frozen at last year's level. What was 2019's level?
So every flight that comes in, there's a certain amount of fees that we pay, whether it's deplaning fees and those sort of things. And generally, in our contracts with them, there's an incremental increase every year. But there was no way we felt like we could do that to the airlines. All you got to do is open CNN.com or Fox Business News or whatever and see they are just struggling. They're laying off folks like crazy. And so we decided, and I think most of the airports in the country did too, to hold those levels steady, and to keep the airlines as whole as possible. And so we didn't increase them as normal. We just kept it at that same rate.
And will the airlines break continue into late 2021?
I'm sorry?
Yeah, will the airlines break continue into late 2021?
I'm not sure how about late 21. It all depends on the vaccine and the volumes. Certainly, we're going to work with them. If we're charging them so much that they can't fly here, then we've cut off our nose to spite our face. And so we're going to do what we can to make sure that we're partners, really, if you think about it, with the airlines. And they're vendors of ours, but they're really partners. Without them, this airport doesn't exist. So we're going to make sure that we're protecting ourselves, but we're going to do everything we can to keep our partners flying.
And let me get back to that controversy over your hiring in January. I want to get your side of the story, but obviously, let me ask you this: when it comes to that, what do you say to the idea that the Charleston County Aviation Board should have performed a proper search for an actual aviation management professional to run the airport?
There were folks there were other members of the board who had folks that they wanted, some of which were not from here. We're a small to medium airport, a very political body, and we have 3 airports in very different areas of the county. And so the idea of bringing someone in from Wisconsin or from wherever, who's coming in to really just build a career. If you think about it, a lot of folks who would come to a small or medium-sized airport or who are traditionally in the aviation business are looking to, come here for a couple of years in order to go to another bigger airport. I think the board was looking for someone who understood our community, who understood that what necessarily was good for Charleston International Airport here in North Charleston might not be exactly what's good for Johns Island or for Mount Pleasant. It's really important for us as an authority to interact with our community, to understand the needs of our community, and to be really an integral part of this community. A good example is the thing we just did this morning with MUSC. Yeah. And so, that's what I feel like I bring to it. I also bring a business entrepreneurial sense to it. I don't think, obviously, having some aviation experience is a good thing, but it's not a deal killer. We've got a really, really good team of professionals here at CCAA that are very good at what they do. And they need some leadership that is a little more entrepreneurial, thinks a little bit outside the box, but really has a passion for the Charleston community. And I think that's what I bring to the table. And certainly, I think when the board looked around and Paul decided to retire, I think they looked around and said, you know what, we can waste $100,000 and bring in a bunch of folks that probably we don't want. We know we have somebody we do want. And so why would we do that? Hindsight being 2020, I think certainly with the amount of money that we lost after COVID, because that was right before COVID, right. Trying to hire someone and not being able to interview people using Zoom would have been pretty difficult to do.
Yes, sir. And let me ask you this. You talk about entrepreneurs, obviously the entrepreneurial spirit. Are you keeping your other business while keeping this full-time job?
No, sir. I've shut down. Sorry, my lights. We're not doing any of that. I've shut the real estate stuff down. Okay. That was also part of the decision when I was approached about the job. I was about to break ground on a building in Macomb County, Detroit. As you know, Quintin, I've been in the medical real estate business for a while, and my boys are 10 and 8, and I spent a lot of time. I used to spend a lot of time on county council. That's coming to an end here soon. And you well know, you've interviewed me several times, how much time that takes and how passionate I've been about it. And when I wasn't doing council, I was flying around doing deals in other states, and I'm going to blink and my boys are going to be gone. Mm. And I don't want that. My dad was always present in my life. And I think, my son will be in middle school next year, my oldest son. That's a big step. And I think with the world we're in now, especially with COVID and all the things that are confusing for adults, I look at my kids and go, man, if we're all confused, they must feel. And it's really an important time in my boy's life for me to be present in a real way. And this gave me that opportunity to still serve the community, to still make a living, but be here and be in their lives. And that's one of the reasons why I did what I did. I'm going to miss a lot of folks at the county. You know how passionate I am about Charleston County, about the folks there. And it was hard to leave them. It's hard to leave that behind because we've got really good folks over there too. But This is this feels good. It feels right. And we've got some really great folks here who know that. My job is to try to make their life easier, give them the resources they need, but also help lead from a community standpoint.
Now, let me ask you another tough question. Are there any checks and balances in place to prevent conflicts of interest there at the airport?
Certainly. Yeah, certainly. We've got a great general counsel, Arnold Goodstein, and he does that. He's very good at that. And he does not work for me.
Right.
The lawyer for the Aviation Authority works for the board. And he's there to make sure that, that he's checking us down and making sure we're good. And he does a good job of that. Arnold's strong advocate for the board, and we all work well together. But if he disagrees, he's going to let us know it, and he's going to let the board know it. And so he's good at what he does. So yeah, absolutely. But no real estate stuff for me. No more development. There's no time for that. I'm here to work for the authority. I'm here to raise my boys, and that's enough time as it is. That takes enough time.
I know you got to go, but let me ask you this: what is the percentage of the international travel that has been down since, say, March?
Yeah, the international travel doesn't exist for us anymore. Right now, because we had the London flight,
right,
and Great Britain shut off international travel from the United States. So very few people are flying over there unless it's a family situation. But we're hopeful. British Airways, we keep talking to British Airways every month, and they're hopeful. They love Charleston.
Yes.
They really like coming here. They never have a problem keeping that plane full from London to Charleston for sure. And people love coming to Charleston. And so they know that when this vaccine gets really going, that there are going to be people itching to come to the holy city. And we haven't given up on them, and we're not giving up on them. So.
And which other airlines do you hope that will itch towards Charleston?
Certainly JetBlue has made some great announcements. That direct flight to LAX is a big deal. The first time that a South Carolina airport's going direct to California. And now we have 2 West Coast flights. Alaska Airlines flies to Seattle once a day for 6 days a week.
Wow.
JetBlue is going to go direct to Los Angeles every day. That's big. That's big for us, for sleepy little Charleston, right? And so we're hoping that turns into a San Francisco flight, and a Las Vegas flight, and you name it, Phoenix,
yes,
wherever. We want. We've got 2 flights a day going to Denver. I mean, that's big news for us.
Yes,
that's a big deal.
Yeah.
And so we're going to keep pushing on that. And JetBlue has been a great partner with us, and we're really. They went all in for us, and years ago, and with the Boston flight, with the New York flight, and down to Florida. So Little Silver Airways, they start Monday. They have our inaugural flight to Orlando, direct to Disney World from Charleston, Tampa, Fort Lauderdale, and then continuing service to Key West. I mean, so again, we've had some nice silver linings in this cloud, and we're gonna build on those.
Elliott Summey, thank you so much for your time. And again, welcome back to the award-winning Quintin's Close-Ups.
Thank you for having me, and we appreciate you, Quintin, everything you do for this community. God bless you, my friend, and thank you. Stay healthy, stay safe, and keep doing what you're doing. We really, really appreciate you.
Oh, you're welcome, and I certainly definitely will.